We live, baby.
It's my ghetto rig.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
It's interesting. Finally, a topic that I'm a little more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Cast and Blast podcast. We are live and direct here with you guys, streaming all across the world. This podcast is reaching millions and millions across the world. We're super happy to have you guys joining us today. Today's going to be a special one, guys. We're talking carp fishing.
Carp fish. It's reaching Brazilians.
Oh,
Brazilians.
Yeah, so we're talking carp fishing today. Today's episode is called Reeling in the Bronze. If you guys know, if you don't know, now you know. We are kind of hooked on carp fishing right now. We've been having a lot of fun with it. We're going to dive in today and talk all kinds of things about carp fishing. But before we do that, Jimmy, why don't you tell the folks that are watching right now what to do?
Like.
There we go.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Follow.
There we go.
Let's try a little sharing.
There we go.
Sharing is caring, right?
It is.
All right, let's do it. No, on the real, though, I mean, it sounds like a joke, but liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all the above, you have no idea how much that does for us, how much it helps us. I mean, I'm not begging, but I'm really asking, you know. It could be nice. It could be nice. It doesn't cost anything. It's free, just a couple buttons. You do it every day. You're pushing buttons on that phone, computer, tablet.
Why not push
remote,
a share?
Just push a share or subscribe.
It's one
easy.
button that pays out in motivation, right?
It does, yeah. It does. Come on, do it. Just do it right now. Just go ahead and do it.
Do it. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following us on YouTube. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time we put out new content. We're going to be blasting out some content for you guys. We got some exciting things that we're working on that we want to have a lot of fun with you guys as our content followers. We're going to be working hard to be consistent, to make sure we're going live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are thanking you guys for joining us live. With that said, Jimmy and I have been out there. We've been getting after it, and we found a lot of fun in something we didn't think we really would. And first off, let me go ahead and turn it over to Jimmy and have him introduce our guest.
So, we say our guest. I think Robert's not much of a guest anymore.
He's part of the
Robert's
crew.
here, man.
Come on now.
Robert's
Come on,
here.
I want to be the new all the time. You
all
can't
right.
just throw me out like that.
All right, no, Robert's with us. At this point, I don't think we call him Robert a guest, man. He three amigos, right? I don't know. We're in it. But yeah, Mr. RPG Outdoors, Robert Garcia here with us. And he's always, Robert's so full of knowledge and he knows a whole lot about everything. You know, a lot of us, we know a little bit about everything. This man right here knows a lot about everything. I don't know how, but he knows a lot about everything.
Mexican MacGyver.
Yeah, the Mexican MacGyver.
Some of the guys at work will be on the job site, be like, hang on. One of them calls me Inspector Gadget. He's like, anytime someone goes, just call Robert. He's got something that'll work.
Call the OIG, Inspector Gadget.
Right.
Yeah, we thank you for joining us today, Robert. And we brought you on to talk particularly because we know you're out there getting after it on the water. You're a tournament fisher, or a tournament angler. You've taken all kinds of people out doing all kinds of different kinds of fishing, whether it be going and chasing smallmouth, largemouth, catfishing. There's probably not a species you haven't reeled in.
There's no limit to it, man. We just, as long as that line stays wet.
Hell yeah. So I'm going to ask you guys... And we'll kind of start here, you know what I mean? Because there is no secret that not a whole lot of people love carp fishing.
A whole lot of people do, just not a whole lot of people here.
And what is it that makes carp fishing, what gives it a bad rep, you know?
Well, I think what a lot of it is table fare. It's not a real tasty fish. I haven't tried it. I love to catch carp, and we'll get into that later a little more. But from what I understand from folk, actually I have tried it. I tried it in Europe.
It's probably more popular, correct?
Yeah, it's super popular. You find it in all the restaurants. But when you get that carp in a restaurant in Europe, and a lot of every place that I went, it's the whole fish. Like, they batter and fry the entire fish, bring it to you, and you kind of eat it that way. I'm not a huge fan of it either. I get it. I don't like to eat it, but I damn sure like catch. you said just having a line in the water. I like tight lines, and a carp will give you some tight lines.
Give you a little tug.
Little tuggy tug.
Praise God.
Well, all right. We're PG, right?
I mean, we're all right.
We're all right, right.
For those of you that are watching for the first time, you are watching a raw and uncensored, unedited podcast. We're just going from the hip. We set ourselves a little topic, but really it could get derailed really quick, and we can go...
Derated.
We can go... Yeah, we can get a little... So... But
Midnight Meat Train's known to derail a time or two.
That's right.
Midnight Meat Train derailment.
Hell yeah. So we're talking about carp fishing and how it's, to some, it's not considered a trophy fish or a game fish. What makes a game fish a game fish?
What makes a game fish? So, okay, we're talking carp fishing, right? And we'll get into more of the details and things like that later. But how often do you eat a bass, Robert? You catch that's your go-to, right? Largemouth, smallmouth.
Yeah.
How often do you eat them?
It's very rare.
Why do you catch them then?
Just pure sport, like we're saying. Tight lines, keep that line wet, and it's that drug that once you catch one and there's bigger, it just goes on and on and on.
But you don't eat the bass, right?
You don't. We release. Specifically
release.
For me, it's definitely a sport fish, and once you read up on how long it takes for that fish, that species to grow, throw them back, let them grow.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game. There is such thing as you go up to a body of water, dude. We've got 20, 1.5 1-pounders to 1 8-pounder, 6-pounder. That's when you got to start weeding them out.
Damn,
so there is a point.
We're hearing to let them grow year round nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Let them grow.
Let them go. Let them grow.
So I guess the point I'm making is carp put up a good fight. They're super fun to catch. It's a very niche way of fishing to catch them, but it's fun. Same thing with bass, but you don't eat them. I mean, I'm not eating the carp. I'm turning them loose,
Man, for me, carp is just so hard to catch, because it comes down to and I deep dove into this. Of course, everybody's followed, the Googan Squad and all of them, and they go into depth with like the bait and whatnot. Some of these guys get super particular as far as having recipes, and it's just so hard to get that fish to bite.
It is, but it's not. Once you figure out the kind of the secret recipe for it, and well, I say secret. There's nothing secret at all about it.
Saying you have a secret recipe.
Whoa!
I mean,
before we get into giving up tactics here,
yeah.
Let's go into kind of describe a little bit about. Let's talk about the carp itself, the habitat which you may find a carp, and what makes it unique compared to.
And how it got here.
Game fish and all that. Yeah, that's a good... Let's turn it over to that.
AKA the Big Ugly is the bass community call them.
Okay.
The Big Ugly?
The Big Ugly.
The Big Ugly. So the Big Uglies...
When you catch them, they're massive.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, they were brought to the States as a food source in the mid-1800s. So they brought them here as, European immigrants, settlers were coming here. And that's what was very common over there. So they're like, all right, let's bag them up, and we're going to take them over there, and we're going to start. They started fish farms and started, putting them in lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, everything else here is a fish farm or as a food source. And they quickly realized, like, shit, we got native species over here that taste a lot better than these carp do. So they're like, we don't need them now.
Right.
But they multiply like rabbits. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think when they lay eggs, it's upwards of 1 million plus. Like it's 1 million plus eggs whenever they lay their eggs. So they're going to expand pretty quickly. And we're talking mid 1800s to now. They're everywhere.
So you said lay eggs. You mean to tell me that they're not having one at a time like marsupials?
I mean, there might be that, hey, it's 2025. You can do what you want to do nowadays. Maybe they are. I don't know.
Yeah, but that is part of the spawning and all that stuff, and that's what makes them unique in that aspect of, the bedding areas.
Yeah.
But I mean, no different than any other fish in their bedding areas, but I'm getting into the habitat. Talk a little bit about that and what you're looking for when you're targeting the species.
Yeah, so carp, I mean, you're going to find, a good time, especially in the spring. In the spring, I would say late spring and summer months, you're going to find them in that shallow water. You're going to look in the bayous, depending on where you at, or the sloughs, or shallow water where there's a lot of vegetation, usually shallow mud flats with vegetation. And it's not only those carp. There's a lot of different species of carp. You got your common carp, your grass carp, your Asian carp, also big mouth carp or big head carp, something like that. Mirror carp. There's a ton of different carp species, but they're generally found in the same type areas. And for a lot of people out there that's watching right now, I'm sure that a lot of people's been fishing, especially bass fishing. When fish are spawning, a lot of times they're in some shallow water like that. And if you've seen a carp spawn before, and you got hundreds or thousands of fish that are in a
shallow pool,
that just congregate in a small area, it's pretty freaking amazing, really. But yeah, those shallow water with a lot of vegetation, that's where you typically find.
So your grassy, edges and that shallow edge
near lake shores.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you'll find them in deep water too, but just majority of time, shallow water near the bank, And
you just hit the nail on the head for us because, there's a lot of anglers out there that are chasing the trophy fish and they're getting out on a boat and stuff, but there's a lot of guys out there pounding the bank, and that's the kind of fishing I like to do. I don't currently have a boat. I know I can always hit up my boy Robert here and jump on the water with him, but when we're not doing that, what are we doing, Jimmy?
Pounding the bank, man. We're putting miles on the bank looking for places to, catch fish. And generally we're catfishing, and that's kind of how this kind of spiraled into carp fishing, is just through catfishing.
So let's talk about some pros and cons about, carp fishing. When would be a good time to kind of get into it,
So when would it be a good time?
Yeah, like
anytime. Just like anything else, man.
Yeah.
Like it's not expensive. It can be expensive. That's the thing. It can be very expensive to do, but it can be very, very inexpensive to do. And the way we do it, it's very inexpensive. Most of the stuff we use is found right there in our tackle box. There's 2 items that I had to buy to make the carp rigs that I use, and I think I spent like $12 doing that. And I'll be able to carp fish
about the cost of a carton or a dozen eggs.
Yeah,
right.
You buy a dozen eggs, and you buy a dozen eggs or carp fish for a year, a year and a half. With enough gear, and depending on where you're fishing, it may last a lifetime. I don't know, but sometimes you get snagged up. Sometimes you don't.
So if the rigs don't last a lifetime, the memories sure can. Because we have had some good times out there with those lines in the water. There's no better thrill than hearing that alert when that big. Yeah, you got that. Yeah, love it. So you hear that, you rush into your, talk a little bit of how we set our setup at the bank. We won't get into tactics. We talked about carp fishing in itself. Not too popular here in the U.S., but it's kind of there. Some argue that it's
exactly. You say that it's actually pretty popular.
Yeah,
Specific
carp.
Yeah, that is actually a pretty live sport fishing, just as strong as bass, as strong as catfish. A guy that we knew out of Austin, he actually fished with Mike Iaconelli.
Yeah, you're talking about Chris Fowler?
Chris Fowler. He put him on.
Shout out to Chris Fowler and what is it? The Fly Trap in Rockport.
Yeah.
He's doing big things down there in Rockport, Texas. If you guys don't know, go check out Chris Fowler on all social media. Is it Foul Hooked? I think it's...
we were just looking at.
But go check him out, man. Chris Fowler. Just Google Chris Fowler, and trust me, you'll find all his YouTube videos and his Instagram and everything of his beautiful carp catches. Yeah. We'll get him on the podcast one day. But go ahead, Robert.
Fly fishing, he's your guy, man. He's got some beautiful setups. But he put Mike Iaconelli on, if I'm not mistaken, one of his record-sized carps in Austin.
It was his first one.
Yeah.
That's badass.
It was nothing to shake a stick at. It was a hoss.
Yeah.
But folks are just about as crazy as we are when it comes to bass or catfish. It is a huge sport out there.
Now we could get into we can get a little hairy here because there's people that that's a very protected species as well. So there's people very protective of how you handle these fish. Robert, do you know a little bit about what it is that people are doing to take the extra care to bring these in and land a carp?
Absolutely. So it's just like with bass fishing, they want you to wet your hands. Like, these guys go way beyond what we do. We lip the fish, we measure it, we weigh it, whatever we want to do, let it go. With these carp fishermen, they've got these intricate It's almost like a
Like the
water
blanket.
hammock.
Yeah,
they
like
get
a
in
water
the water.
hammock.
They make sure they're in the water with them. They don't pull them out. You know, there's like you say, you can go the $12 option. Just with any other hobby, you can end up at $1,000.
You can, yeah. But
and they release them. They never really bring them out of the water. So
so sometimes I don't release them. Sometimes they get hit over the head with a machete and chopped up for catfish bait.
Now that's a different story. But you're doing that with you're doing that, one, it's not a game fish, so it's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
Two, on the flip side of what you were saying, Robert, and how careful people are with carp.
Yeah.
How many times have you been out fishing, trolling the side of a bank, and you see those carp laying on the side of the water, just kind of like with a spear hole through them or something?
Literally, yeah. They're a big target for some of our water fisheries here. They target
especially
a lot
bow
of
fishers.
Yeah, they target a lot of our vegetation, and some of those species, that's solemnly what they eat.
And we call it trash fish, you know. And why do they call it trash fish, Jimmy?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I wonder if
any fish. So I get it. Table fare is table fare,
right?
And a carp probably does taste like trash.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to go fish, and I just keep going back to my point, for most bass fishermen, they don't eat the bass; they just catch it to release it. It's fun. It's a recreational sport. To me, carp fishing is too. It's just most carp you're going to catch are bigger than bass you're going to catch. You get a bigger tug, you get a bigger fish. You know, sometimes depending on where and what time of year or where you're fishing, I mean it's happening one after another. You're pulling in anywhere from a 5 to a 20-pound fish. That's a good time. That's a good day.
You're talking quantity and quality.
Yes,
and that's
both.
a good time.
You can get both.
Yeah, and then
5-pound carp will fight like a 8-pound bass.
Then you're talking about.
And it's a hell of a lot cheaper.
The beautiful fish. It's a beautiful fish. I mean, you get some that have some beautiful colors to them. You can pull up fish that look like goldfish, and they probably are, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, goldfish is I think it's in the carp family.
Yeah.
And
koi.
Yeah, so I've seen people pull up these giant carp, and they look like a giant goldfish. And what probably happened is there's people releasing goldfish in fisheries because, they might have reach their time with them as a pet or something, and they go and find, hey, I got to go dump these, and they dump them, and that's how they produce and get out. And you wonder why there's such beautiful, big goldfish-looking fish in these lakes, rivers, creeks.
Well, they're not native, too. That's another reason a lot of people call them a trash fish. They're not native.
Invasive.
Well, at this point, if they were brought in the early or the mid 1800s, are they invasive at this point, or are they a part of the? You're never going to get rid. There's been I would venture to say maybe billions over that time, of billions of dollars over that time used to try to eradicate the carp. They realize like, oh, we may have messed up. They kind of mess up some ecosystems here and there. But there's ecosystems that benefit from it as well. So it's,
I think their presence is so big. They've definitely gone past the invasive. They're here to stay.
They're here to stay.
Yeah.
Just like pigs. Yeah. Just like pigs. They are the pigs of the waterways.
And speaking of pigs, man, we've pulled some buffalo carp. Is it buffalo carp?
I just...
Buffalo drum.
I just call them buffalo.
Yeah, so buffalo drum. We call them buffs here, but I pulled some of those in, and man, those were some hogs, dude. They're eating good, and it's just a fun time, man. And I thought it'd be cool to talk about something different. You got so many videos, so many YouTubers talking about bass angling, and you got a big following for shark fishing and all these different particular species. Now there is a big following for carp fishing too, but it's very niche. Well, here on the Cast and Blast podcast, we talk about everything from fishing, hunting, and everything in between. So we thought today we'd just dive right in and talk about these bronze beauties, because I'm telling you what, if you have never done it, it doesn't cost a lot to start, and you can have a really good time, and it's probably your best bang for the buck for your odds of catching fish that day.
Not only odds of catching fish, but so anybody can go out and catch bluegill or perch or something like that. You can catch a whole slew of them, right? Until you're trying to catch them for catfish bait, and then you can't find them.
Yeah.
Most of the time you can go out and catch it, but it's small fish. It's not that fun. I mean, it's fun, but not as fun as chunking on a 15-pound fish or bigger. But I would say that anybody that kind of sets up a good rig, you're able to go out and catch a 15-pound fish that day pretty easily, and that's a good time. That's a good time.
carp.
I got a question for Robert though. Well, so for carp, so Ben and I, we talked about this before, but so carp and gar, non-game fish species, they get hit pretty hard during, for bow fishing during the summer and stuff. So if you're bow fishing or spear fishing, are you fishing or hunting?
I think it's the best of both worlds.
Is it both? I don't know. I'm still trying to think.
I think you're funting.
You're funting.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the answer.
That's the only way to look at it.
MacGyver over here coming up with you're funting.
You're funting, fishing and hunting. I've never been that night fishing, and it looks like it's pretty much a lot of nights. People go out daily, and it looks like a whole lot of fun to go out and use the bow. Or
I've done it. It's fun. It's great.
I've never done it. I've always threatened. I said I was going to go, and I've never gone. And I think it's good. It's something I need to get on my list pretty quick.
I particularly
we got to do it then.
Yeah.
I never went, man, out of respect to Chris, man. Chris Fowler was like, bro, don't talk to me if you're out there bow fishing and this and that. I was like, all right, man, but hey.
But that's the point I was going to make. There's a reason why Chris Fowler said, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Because you're shooting those fish. You're putting a big hole. I mean, have you seen a bowfish and arrow?
Oh, yeah.
So you got a 2 to 2.5 inch prongs on those to pull them back in, right?
Yeah.
So they're not coming off.
And that's another thing. Some people aren't even using the right tools to do it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're just injuring fish and letting them go. If you're doing something with the fish, I'm cool with even if it's feeding them the pigs or do something with. Don't just throw it back in the water. But at that point, you can argue you're throwing it back in the water. It's going back into the ecosystem.
Sure.
Other fish, turtles, everything else is going to eat it. So
turtle cats.
Yeah, I'm not against bow fishing. That's turtle cats. I'm not against bow fishing. I like to do it. That's not what I'm saying. But maybe have a plan to do something with the fish.
I spoke to a guy who was a guide one time, and he wouldn't actually throw them back in, so he would take them home, and believe it or not, they say they make great fertilizer.
Yeah, for a lot of nitrogen
and stuff like that. They're really good for fertilizer.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't know if it's true or not, but that's what buckets, half of 55-gallon buckets full of these things. Yeah.
But that's another thing. I mean, just like so. Let's take carp, for example. We hunt on an MLD lease, and we manage that, right? We have to take X amount of deer a year to keep that population under control. So if you don't got bow fishermen or carp fishermen out there controlling these species, they're just going to continue to expand. And
they outgrow their habitat.
And they outgrow the habitat. Even in a large lake.
Or their resources.
Yeah, it can be a large reservoir, and still you're overpopulated with that species.
Absolutely.
So for people to say bow hunting or bow fishing or carp fishing shouldn't be done, that's a good way to help, manage that population as well.
That's always a question. You go out and you say, how many do I keep or how many do I take? And I feel like there's more of us fishermen or funters in this cast that, you think, let's send them back, let them go, let them grow. But at some point in time, our ideology on that is you have to take some out of them.
You have to take some out of them.
You think way back in the day before we had H-E-B and Walmart and all these great stores, what did we do?
So Ben made a good point when we were out there fishing and catching. We caught quite a few carp and buffalo and drum and catfish. I don't know what. Yeah. But anyways, Ben made a good point. Gar. He was like, you know what? If all these single guys out here that, don't do much, they're not getting the ladies, they're not going out, they're not doing. So we caught some, and Ben was like, man, look at that mouth, man. That's a crazy ass mouth.
What's that mouth do?
What's that mouth do? What's that mouth do? And he's like, yo, all these single dudes out here, they don't know what they're missing.
Bro. If you've ever looked at a carp in the mouth, you might fall in love.
I've never been carp fishing with you guys, but I think it just signed me off of that list.
Yeah. No, if you are not, if you don't know, now you know.
Now you know.
Yeah, if you catch me out at the at the bank and I'm like crouched down by the water, you know what's going on.
That's a different type of let it grow and let him go.
There you go. Definitely a grower, not a shower.
Yeah, there you go.
But man, we've talked a little bit about everything, but I think we should get into a little bit of gear, maybe some techniques. What? Let me do this. We're going to go into what works for us. How about that? What works for us, we say it all the time. What works for us may not work for you. We
Right.
never claim to do it the right way. We do it our way. I guess that sums it up. So
There is no right or wrong way. If you're reeling them in,
if it's working,
and it's working, it must be right.
there you go.
So there's no right or wrong. I can tell you what. I've been bass fishing many times. My best lure for catching a
Don't
carp
give it away.
is going to be a weightless fluke.
A weightless fluke.
I've been out bass fishing
What color?
so many times, and I have casted it out, and one of these big uglies hits it, and I'm thinking, man, this is the one I've been waiting on all year.
Yeah.
And it's that big old ugly stinky son of a gun come
Yeah.
out of there. Yeah.
So that's another thing, Robert. You just mentioned it. They're not desirable to have on the boat, huh?
Man, they got a unique smell. For me, it's kind of like, when you catch the catfish and it's
Yeah.
got that slime, 18 inches above the hook.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
These things have a unique smell. My wife and I was on a boat. Quick story. She caught one, and it was a good size ugly. And I told her, don't put that on the boat.
Was it a carp or drum?
It was a carp.
Carp.
Don't put it on the boat. Don't put it on the boat. What she did, she boat flipped this thing, which had to have been about 12 pounds, and it flopped across the back deck of that boat. She couldn't get a hold of it.
Slimed it.
By the time she got it, a week later, we went out fishing again. Dude, it was flies like a dead cat on the back of that boat. I said, I told you not to put
I
that
told
fish
you.
back there.
No one ever listens to Robert.
Nope. Nope. Back to shooing flies all day.
Yeah, they don't have a very desirable scent, I guess. It smells fishy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fishy, but they got a pretty desirable tug, though.
Yeah,
They do. They're absolutely strong, man. These things, I can't tell you how many times I've hooked one. I thought, man, I've got the bass of the year for me.
Yeah,
And then it comes up and it just bellies up and it's like, shoot, man.
Lake record. Oh,
Yeah.
shit, another
So
one
for
of these.
me as a, I'll call it a born again freshwater fisherman, right? Because I cut my teeth saltwater fishing growing up in South Texas, hitting the coastal waters. I always did 95% of my fishing was saltwater fishing. I hit the rivers and all that stuff, but saltwater fishing for me was my thing, right? You get out there and you set you get your bait, you set some rod holders down in the surf, or whether you're out there on the edge of a laguna or whatever, you just kind of boom, boom, drop your rod holders.
Right.
And you're trying to cast your bait out as far as you can, get out past that sandbar, watch that transition area where you can see with your good polarized sunglasses, and you're like, okay, this is where I'm hitting. You get out
Fancy
there.
fisherman over here.
That is a new thing, and we'll get into polarized sunglasses
I
for a
got the
whole
gas
new.
station pugs.
I don't
man.
even know what the hell a laguna is.
Yeah,
Is it a saltwater slough?
yeah, nah. Well, I said Laguna because I fished the Upper Laguna Madre.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway,
So it's not
I-
a town, it's the
I
actual
can't-
thing.
I can't
Yeah.
tell you where I fish, bro. For legal purposes, statutes of limitations will let me go. But anyway, no, I mean, we get out there, we'd fish. Man, some good spots down there, and I'm not talking about like what you would think is, you got to pay to fish or anything like that. You just get out there. The thing about what I loved about saltwater fishing and living by the coast is you could find the water's edge anywhere you go. Out here, it's a little different. You got to kind of get out there and use your Onyx and all that stuff.
You know what's
to find-
crazy is, for me, there's a lot of water's edge around here compared to a lot of places that I've been.
Yeah, you've never
For
lived
fresh,
by the coast.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
the point I'm making. There's a lot of water edge out here.
In Corpus, bro, you could break down on the side of the road, and while you're waiting to fix your car, you're just fishing.
Yeah, you're not gonna do that here. Yeah.
I'm a boat queen. When you tell me we're going to go walk the bank, it better be trimmed. The grass may not be any more than 6 inches. There better be some shade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a
No
queen
ticks,
for
no
that.
snakes, no.
I think I can deal with the critters, but I think just the walking in the sun. We got pretty rocky banks.
The snags, you got to cast away from the trees and all that stuff.
Back and it hooks
Yes.
back here before it goes in
Right.
the water.
I love that shit though. That's what I grew up doing, so that's what I love. I love it.
But going back to like the comparison of saltwater fishing, we go out there, we set some rod holders out, cast out, set our rigs down inside the rod holders, and you just sit back and wait. It's your chance to sit there, pop open a beer, sit there and bullshit, whatever. Carp fishing to me and cat fishing, it's kind of the same thing. It's more of a social. Not that bass fishing isn't, but I personally we tend to kind of get in our zone.
It's the dove hunting of fishing.
It kind of is, man.
Yeah.
You would you agree that it's more of a social kind of fishing? Not only is it you can have good numbers, but you can have like good times.
No, I mean, I guess it depends on how
To
you're.
each their own, I guess.
Yeah, it can be the way we do it right now. Yeah, it kind of is, because we just get out there, put a big spread out, we just sit back and chill, man. Just wait on that rod to bend, whether it's a carp, a catfish, or whatever it is.
Right.
We just want to catch a fish.
Bro, have you seen these rigs where they actually hook set by themselves?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like you can spend some money on carp fishing if you want to. But another big aspect, like Chris Fowler, I think, he's all about fly fishing them,
exactly.
right?
Like I think that's only how he goes after him.
Which is super. I've never
Saltwater fishing too. He's out there saltwater fishing with fly rods.
Yeah, I think
Chris,
he's
if you're
100% fly now.
Yeah.
Chris, if you ever see this, I would love to go fly fishing with you. Let's make this happen. I've never done it. I love to catch carp. And I want to catch one on a fly rod.
Manifestation on a podcast. I love it.
Manifestation. Yeah.
There's a little pond that we got access to right down the road from our house before this big drought. And we talked to the landowner, you know, taking some veterans with Heroes on the Water out there. And he goes up to this feeder, and he had 2 feeders. And he hits that feeder and then started spraying pellets or whatever the heck comes out of that. Man, if I tell you how many, it looked like the water was boiling. And we're talking, this is maybe like an acre size.
Was that catfish or carp?
It was carp.
Oh, wow.
So we took Frank, and I think you guys have met Frank. He goes on the water. He goes out there with his fly fishing rod, and he send that sucker out there. Sure enough, about 15 minutes later, dude, I swear he was going to break that rod he had. Dude, it was doubled over.
That's a good time.
I'm telling you, the greatest time ever. Dude was just smiling all day.
That's a good time, man.
Yeah, but on the fly, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like fishing with ultralight, you know, it's just a different game. But, you know, you can get some rods custom built, and I know those guys spend a lot of money on those fly rods and the reels, and Chris has an amazing class that he can give on tying flies and all that stuff.
Right.
But with that said, let's get into tackle, setups or whatever. Just a couple of techniques, maybe some tactics.
Yeah, okay. I'll talk about how I kind of got into it and got into the rig that I use now. So I do a lot of catfishing. I've always loved catfishing. I mean, I do a lot of bass fishing too, but catfishing is kind of my deal. So catfishing is you're either on or you're off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're off, you're like, damn, man, I see fish jumping. I see tails. I see boils. I see all this going on.
Yeah.
What fish is that? What is it? What is it? And then you finally realize it's carp, it's buffalo, it's gar, it's, you know, all these trash fish that nobody wants to catch. And I'm like, damn, I want to catch those. Mm-hmm. So I started watching YouTube, you know, YouTube University.
Yeah.
And I think this was back in probably 2013, 2014, something like that. And I came across a YouTube channel called Catfish and Carp with a guy named Luke. Well, Luke, he had an awesome channel. He lived in Virginia, caught nothing but catfish and carp. And it was the best DIY catfish and carp tactics of any YouTuber that I've seen.
Right.
And he's went on now. Most people know him now is on a YouTube channel called The Outdoor Boys. But before he had Outdoor Boys and that like 10.3 million YouTube followers, subscribers he has now, he had catfish and carp. So that's kind of where I learned a lot of things from. But in that YouTube video, in his YouTube videos, he uses a lot of the expensive equipment. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a poor white boy, bro. I can't afford that equipment. So what I did have is I had a whole lot of catfish equipment, and a lot of that is relatable to carp fishing. So what I didn't have was what they call the pack bait holders. Mm-hmm. So for years, I made my own pack bait holders, which what I did was just go buy some cat toys. It was like a little ball that had a ball inside that cats could, you know, move around. I cut those in half,
right, and
I would use that as a pack bait holder.
Okay.
Well, that kind of didn't work that well, and then I come across these pack bait holders here, and when we'll get into what pack bait is in a minute. And I found these on Amazon, and you get a pack of 8 for like $10.
Swear you were about to say Temu.
Well, not that we haven't gone there.
Yeah. Actually, I got a badass scope off Temu the other day, like Marco scope, real deal. I'm not saying use Temu. I used it as a like a test, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so
Robert, pull that beer back towards you a little bit. Thank you, sir.
So I guess what I'm saying is I got a lot of rods, but I don't have any of the like carp specific rods.
Okay.
Most of my catfish rods are too stiff for carp fishing, or I feel that they're too stiff. But my universal, I'm gonna go catch bass, striper, bluegill, whatever, those rods, mm-hmm, they work perfect for carp fishing. So I was like, okay, well, I always have a shit ton of braided line.
Right.
And on this rig right here, this is overkill. This is what I use for my catfish.
Looks pretty heavy.
On my catfish rods, this is 65-pound braid. And I get it, it's overkill, but this is how I do it cheap. Just whatever's around the house. Went on Amazon, bought these. It's a pack of 8 right here for, I think, like $9.99 or something. And then this rig takes 2 barrel swivels. And you can find barrel swivels anywhere. Anywhere. You get a pack of 20 for like $3.99.
Right.
And then I use these small hooks here. It don't take much to catch a carp, and that's a pretty small hook. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah, it looks like a 1/0 maybe.
There you go.
It's I think it's a number 2.
There you go.
Just regular J hook. 1 or 2/0 hook.
Yeah.
So
but if
crazy,
you see,
crazy you say that because a lot of the times I see them, it's almost like a circle hook.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I've tried the circle hooks, and I didn't have as good luck as I do with these like small J hooks, basically. Okay. So basically, all I did was I took 2 barrel swivels. I put the pack bait holder on. This pack bait holder will move up and down this. And the way it does that, so it doesn't come adjustable the way it is. It takes a little tension.
Okay.
So it will move up and down. But all I did was stuff a toothpick in there, break it off to allow that little bit of tension. So what that does is give me, if I want the bait closer to the hook, I can move it down closer to the hook. Okay. If I want it further away, I can just slide it up and have it further away. And then obviously this is, connected to your main line or whatever. Right. And the bait itself, what I use is what is called pack bait. And I found this on the Catfish and Carp channel. I'd never seen that before. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. So the bait, what I like to do is I'll take a can of panko breadcrumbs, like a whole can of them, I guess. And then I'll take like some oats, or some tortilla masa, or something like any bread type powder.
Sounds like we're making tamales, bro.
Exactly, man.
A carp tamale there.
A carp tamale.
Right. Some gorditas or something.
Yeah. And then
these carp are eating good.
I take a box of the cheapest strawberry or cherry Jello, and I take all this shit and I dump it in either a bucket, depending on how much fishing I'm going to do.
You got me wanting to bite this bait already.
I know. So I'll dump it in either a bucket or a 1-gallon Ziploc bag, mm-hmm. a can of corn, or 2 cans of corn, or 1 can of corn, and 1 can of garbanzo beans. I just started the garbanzo beans.
Holy crap, bro. This is a recipe, dude.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And then maybe you can take like some vanilla, you know what I mean?
Pepper,
some
cayenne,
vanilla.
a little bit of thyme.
Like a
all
casserole.
of it. The more garlic is a big one, man. You can put in there whatever you want. And basically you just put all that in there.
Some habichuelas, we get them in.
Beer. So you dump all these ingredients
okay, stop. Time out. I will let us make something out of oats, panko bread. I'll throw some.
That's alcohol abuse, man.
All that stuff. But when we're pouring beer and wasting beer for fish, bro, that's where I stop. I'm not giving beer to pigs.
He puts all that in a Ziploc bag, but then while he's shaking it
a little bit more for Santa Claus. A little bit more for Santa Claus.
We call that the bait tax.
There you go.
I'm glad you changed that camera because I just spilt my beer as you put it on you.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, hey.
Yeah, good job.
That's what happens when you have a live, raw, and uncensored podcast. If you guys are enjoying your cold ones with the podcast, salute.
Cheers to you.
So long story short, all of that, the bait cost, you can make enough bait for an entire weekend for about $3.
Wow.
It doesn't take much, right?
And that makes like almost like a full gallon Ziploc bag worth of bait.
Yeah, you'll make a full gallon off that.
Okay.
Dang. So you make a full gallon.
I can't get
so
one
this
bag
is
worth
strictly
of baits for that much that'll last for more than an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so this is strictly for a specific kind of bait, right? There's all kinds of different types of tactics and baits.
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to take all that, whether you put it in a bucket, a Ziploc bag, whatever container you have, and you're just going to knead it in there with your hand, and you're going to make a dough. So when you pour that can of corn or that can of garbanzo beans or whatever you use, and pour that liquid in there as well. Sometimes you need a little more. If you got a Pepsi, pour the Pepsi in there for the liquid. Put the lake water in there.
Got it.
If you got beer, put the beer in there. Whatever it is, make it the right consistency.
Mountain Dew.
But that's all this piece right here is for. You're going to take that and you're just going to put this in that bag. and you're going to scoop that stuff all around it, and you're just going to press it on there, and you're going to have a big bait ball about the size of maybe a tennis ball. We'll say a tennis ball.
Good Lord.
So you're gonna put that on there, and then if you I don't know if you guys can see in the camera, but if you see, this is called I think they call it a hair rig. I'm not an exact carp fisherman, but I know this works. So I think it's a hair rig. So if you can see that string hanging off that hook, and all I did there,
We call it bellow rig.
okay, that's
Yeah.
what we call it.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
Yeah.
So what I did here is I just snailed this hook on with the extra long tag line that comes off, and before I made my wraps on the snail, I just pulled that tag line back in there and made my wraps with that tag line in there, so it gives me that hair, right? So when you bait this, you're not baiting the hook, you're putting your bait on here. And the way I do that is I just take corn or the garbanzo beans or whatever I'm using for bait, and I take an old jig head, like a small jig head, and I use that as a threader. What do they call those?
Yeah.
A threader. So I'll just run it through there.
Almost like what you use to thread a needle with a thread.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
A threader. So I just run it through whatever piece of bait I'm going to use, and I get it on this line, secure it on there. And what I like to do now is I usually tip my hook with a worm, with a red worm. And the only reason I use the red worm, because anytime I'm catfishing, I'm usually carp fishing. So when I go catfishing, I like to use perch, bluegill, whatever. Those are my favorite bait. Fresh bait, sometimes shad are hard to get. So I use bluegill most of the time. And the way I catch bluegills, I go use worms, catch all my bluegill for catfishing. And then, so I'll just use the leftover worms I have and just kind of tip my hook. And you got that pack bait on there. You got your bait back here.
What is the pack? Explain what the pack bait does.
So what the pack bait does, when you throw this out there, that pack bait's going to dissolve off of this, and you're just going to have a big pile of bait. So those fish, you're chumming. Basically, this is for chumming, and that's all it is. And you got the jello, and you got all the scents and everything that's in there, and that's going to bring the fish in, and they're just going to be swimming around, just.
So White Claw won't work.
I'm sure it will, but as they're swimming around, sucking it up, because Ben's favorite mouth in the fish world being the carp, they suck things off the bottom.
Yeah.
And so what happens is when this is laying on the bottom of the lake, they'll come and suck up this piece, and when they suck that piece up, they suck that hook into their mouth. So whichever way they move, wherever they move, they're gonna get hooked.
And they're pretty much catching themselves.
They're catching themselves, man. You catch fish without putting a bait on a hook. That's what's crazy. You just have it on the backside. So it is a unique way to fish for them, but it's super fun.
That is cool, man. Hey, let us know in the comments right now if you're watching this and you have a different tactic. Share that tactic with us so the rest of the viewers and the rest of the followers can actually learn from your tactics. Maybe we're doing it completely different than how you do it, but we want to know how your tactics, what you use for bait, maybe you can drop a link to your YouTube video and use this platform as a way to share that with other people and all that stuff. But this is what worked for us. We were just going to share that with you guys, and I hope you guys got something from that. I think Jimmy did a really good job of displaying that kind of live without in front of a camera in a box, all that
so
stuff.
So it is live. You make a great point.
Pretty intricate rig.
For anybody that is interested in a very cheap but very, very, ready to go and it works rig, hit us up at info@cast&blast outfitters.com.
Yeah, we sell them for only $59.99.
Yeah, $59.99. That's all. I'll ship it straight to your door. I'll hand deliver it down there for $59.99.
Yeah.
Oh, what I'm saying is, shoot us an email, Facebook message, whatever.
YouTube comment, whatever. Let us know.
If you're interested in it, I will hit us up. I'll do a one-on-one FaceTime call with you, and we'll go through and I'll show you every single thing that we use.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we make a kind of like a tutorial on a video?
Catch and cook tutorial.
Catch and cook.
All right, I'll cook it. You eat it.
There you go. Are we down?
All right.
Oh, okay. Hey, okay. Well, if you're eating it, I'm eating it, but I'm gonna make sure that carp had some of those garbanzo beans and corn.
Shout out to Travis Mitchell. Thank you for watching us, brother. But Travis is saying that vanilla extract.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. A little bit of vanilla in there with your, you put a couple squirts in there in your pack bait. Money.
See, that's the kind of thing I want to try to do is get out there with a guy like Travis and see what works for him, see what works for us.
Heck yeah.
And maybe film a little bit about it and share that content with people as well. So
yeah, I would love to go fishing with an actual carp fisherman, someone that does it. So this is just all shit that I came up with on my own that I've seen on YouTube.
A little bit of Mexican ingenuity.
A little bit of that, you know.
What would you call it, Jimmy?
Redneck ingenuity, man.
All right, I like
a little bit of like sitting in a garage being like, I really want to catch one of these fish, but I don't know how. This shit keeps moving up and down. What will keep it from moving up and down?
So when you started with your first rig fishing for carp and you kind of honed in on this, what was the percentage that you saw your catch go up by just by changing your rig and your tactics?
So the biggest thing that I done was I couldn't figure out how to make this hair rig, what they call the hair rig. How could I make this happen? So what I was doing was I would do a pack bait with my homemade cat toy pack bait thing, and then I would just put a piece of corn or something on the hook. And I wasn't having good success doing that. So I was like, okay, because I thought this was unnecessary. I was like, nah, that's bullshit. Put it on the hook. That's very necessary.
Yeah.
That's what I figured out. So now with, I would say a hookup rate with this, I'm probably somewhere in the like 80, 90 range. Like anytime I get a good bite, I'm catching that fish.
So you think tipping the hook is a key to it?
I think the hair rig is the key to it.
Okay.
I tip the hook just so I feel better about myself not wasting worms. It's not necessary. Sometimes if I go out carp fishing, I don't have worms. I have the same success rate. Yeah.
I used to watch a YouTube channel. It was I believe they were two brothers or two really good friends. One of them, his name was Carl, and they're across the pond. But they were really big into carp fishing, and man, their tactics, their gear, unreal. Like they set their rods. They have these little. They strap onto the rod, and it's these little alarms when it starts the line starts to roll, like, man, and they've got some really. I found the channel, and I started watching it because they're so intricate with how they fish for these things in their gear that, man, it sucked me right in. I was just like, dude, I'm watching this, and I watched a lot of their videos. And I travel all over the country for carp fishing.
I think, I'm not going to say that I know because I definitely don't know, but I think simple rigs, your regular everyday bass rod that you use or whatever, I think with a rig like this, you'll be just as successful.
Okay.
I don't have a bait alarm. I want some, but like I said, we're doing a lot of catfishing. Yeah, I use a lot of these. So they have the battery power, beep, 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 slightest movement of the line.
Automatic hook setters.
Yeah, and everybody knows what the old... the bells are cheap bells. You get two of these for, I think, like 75 cents or some shit. Like, it isn't very much. They're really cheap, but they work just as good, I mean, actually, maybe not as good, but when that carp picks that hook up and they swim off, they're hooked, man. Like, you don't need that bait alarm. I'm not going to say you don't need it every time, but that works just as well.
Good indication you got something on your rod.
You just put, you just clamp this on the end of your rod. You're good to go, man.
So once you go past the 6-pack, that's when the bell comes out.
That's when the bell comes out. That's it, right there.
Idea.
Well, I mean, we covered a lot of things here. We're talking carp fishing, but we're also talking about tactics and rigs and all that stuff. And again, this is what works for us. This is some things that we do when we're out there. The tactics that we shared with you today, guys, are just one way of getting after it. There's boils. There's all kinds of different dough balls and all different kinds of stuff, and we can get into those in maybe separate videos or whatever. We just wanted to share with you guys what has been working for us, some of the things that we have seen going out there and just trying different methods and those kind of things. And Jimmy introduced one to you guys, and I thought he did a real good job of kind of breaking that down without having the camera right on him and all that stuff, and I appreciate you doing that.
I get nervous when the camera's on me, so I'm glad we can do it this way.
Yeah, but man, we hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a special segment. I know we always talk about different things and stuff, but we wanted to bring you guys something different today. We hope you enjoyed this content. If you're enjoying this kind of content, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit follow, make sure you share, make sure you comment. Most of all, at least just like it, just give us a thumbs up and let us know, hey, we're doing something right, because we're trying hard. We're a couple of gray-bearded guys that don't really know what's working, what's not. We're not YouTubers. We're just a couple guys that are out there enjoying the outdoors. And if you kind of can connect to that, make sure you like and subscribe, you know. Jimmy, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to close us out, kind of wrap up.
Yeah, man, I just want to say, don't shake a stick at a carp. If you've thought about it and you think there's some taboo behind it or whatever, there's not. There's not. Just go out there, catch fish, have a good time. If you want to catch big fish, that's a good way to catch some pretty big fish. Just have fun, do it. Get out on the water, get out in the woods. That's what it's all about. When it comes down to it, it doesn't matter if you catch fish or harvest an animal, whatever it is. It's being out there, sharing the outdoors, sharing time out with a family member, a child, your wife, your husband, your cousin, your uncle. It's whoever. Just get out there. That's what it's about. If you got any DIY tips and tricks like this, that's what we live for. That's what we love. So, yeah, hit us up, man. info@castandblastoutfitters.com. Check us out on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Insta, all of them. Drop them in there. Like Ben said, I'm going to say it again. Like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever. We need it. We need it. We need it. Please. Absolutely. And thank you. But other than that, we thank y'all for joining us. We want to say thanks to Robert. Robert had to drive over here again. Thanks for joining us. We love it when you're on, man. Always a different perspective. But, yeah, y'all have a good evening. We'll see you next Wednesday.